This segment is sponsored by Strategic Wealth Designers. Most people plan for retirement the wrong way, but it's not their fault. So here to break down the basics of retirement planning the way it should have been explained all along is Thomas Riley, a senior financial advisor at Strategic Wealth Designers. Thanks for joining us, Thomas. Great to see you.
Nice seeing you again. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Thomas, we usually hear about people not saving enough for retirement. But I've also read some retirees have the opposite problem. They're afraid to spend. Why is that?
Yeah, I love talking about this because it's actually a little bit more common than people really are aware of. And I think it really just comes down to the psychology to where if you've been saving for the past 20, 30, 40 plus years, and then all of a sudden you stop getting a paycheck from your normal job, it can feel a little bit different actually bringing down and pulling assets out from your portfolio. So sometimes it's just kind of that psychological change and getting ready for that distribution of the assets there.
Yeah, that makes sense. And the market headlines, they make us feel some kind of way. How can those market headlines make that feeling worse?
Yeah, so market headlines are always out there to where it's important to stay on top of what's happening, but sometimes market headlines make things seem immediate. When you look at long-term history and trends, usually it takes some time for things to change. So, you're seeing everything today with AI, there's lots of geopolitical tensions, but really when you kind of look at things, there's usually trends that move in a certain way over longer term there. So always take a step back and try not to make immediate reactions just from one market headline.
For anyone listening thinking, oh, well, this is me, how do they know what they can safely spend?
Yeah, so a really good way to kind of look at things is kind of looking at what your budget is. And we kind of look at two things on the spending side, essential and then discretionary. Essentials are going to be things like your mortgage, utilities, your expenses that you need essentially to live there. And then the discretionary side is really kind of more of the fun bucket there. And that's maybe vacations, time with the grandkids, maybe going out to eat there. And so really kind of figuring out what those things are and figuring out if your fixed income lines up with that. And then lots of times if your fixed income doesn't line up with what you need to spend, then it's kind of looking at, do I need to draw investment income over time too?
That's really great advice. And I suppose if they need help with that, they can talk to a financial advisor.
Yes, yeah. No one ever wants to usually dig into their expenses unless they're, really into spreadsheets there. And so one thing they can always do is go to our class, Retirement Planning University, and we actually talk about those different types of expenses. And then we also go through an actual formula that kind of helps calculate how much money you need saved based on, how much money you need to generate based on your gap between income and expenses in retirement too.
All right. So if they want more, they can just come and learn from you how to safely spend and find out if their spending plan is solid.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's kind of the big thing is knowing, how much you're spending and then seeing if it's the right amount or if there's some adjustments that need to be made too.
All right. Makes a lot of sense. Thank you so much, Thomas.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. For more in-depth retirement education, visit retirementplanninguniversity.com. That's where you can sign up for classes happening in the DMV every month.